Hi everyone, welcome to the NinjaTrader webinar room. As I get started, I want to test for picture and sound. If you can hear my voice and see the slide in the room, just enter a Y into the room for me. Appreciate that. Sounds like I'm coming through loud and clear. My name is Chelsea Bell. I work as a NinjaScript representative here in our Denver, Colorado office. I'd like to start with a quick disclaimer. It is important to understand there are substantial risks in trading commodity future contracts or foreign currency. You should carefully consider whether such trading is suitable for you, and this will depend on your specific circumstance and financial resources. It is possible to lose all of the funds deposited with your broker, and you can incur losses beyond these amounts. Please inquire with brokerage support at ninjatrader.com for more information, or if you'd like to get a copy of the CFTC full risk disclosure. Also keep in mind, these training webinars are not a solicitation nor a recommendation, but simply educational in nature. All right, so welcome to the Strategy Builder 301 event. What we're going to be doing today is a kind of a basic overview of making a simple strategy using the Strategy Builder with a point-and-click interface. Now I do want to mention NinjaTrader is a free application. You can use this for charting, market analytics, automated strategy development, and trade simulation. We do charge for our product if and when you decide to trade live on the NinjaTrader platform. And if you'd like more information, at the bottom of your screen you've got a yellow display box where I've got a few links in there where you can learn more about NinjaTrader. I also want to mention that you should join us on the NinjaTrader blog for your home all things NinjaTrader. I'm going to throw a link into the room. Additionally, follow us on Twitter and Facebook. We've got market commentary, updates on contract expirations, rollover dates, things like that. All right. Now I'm switching over to the screen sharing section. You should be able to see my platform. If you can't see my platform, just let me know. I'll refresh the projection. So to get started here, we're going to start by making a new NinjaScript strategy using the Strategy Builder. And the Strategy Builder in NinjaTrader 8 is located in the New menu. So we'll go to New Strategy Builder. Now I'll bring this into view. So on this page here, it's asking us if we want to create a new strategy. If we had any existing strategies that are still in the Builder mode, we would see those and we'd be able to select those and edit those from here. At the bottom left, let me go ahead and click the Next button. At the bottom left, we have a View Code button. As we get our script ready for use and as we're creating stuff in the Strategy Builder is going to be creating and generating code for you, and that's going to be your actual strategy that's run. The View Code button will allow you to view the code that the Strategy Builder has created so far. We're going to need to give our strategy a name. The name of the strategy must be unique. So every strategy has to have a different name, and that way NinjaTrader can recognize it. We're going to call this one a simple, actually we'll just call it Simple MA Crossover. And the reason I'm using the Simple MA Crossover included with NinjaTrader is a Sample MA Crossover. We just want to make sure we use a different name than that. For the description here, this will be the description that the user sees as a tooltip when they're learning about your strategy by selecting it in the menu. I'll write in here Simple Moving Average Crossover Strategy. I'm going to click the View Code button. That way we can see what's been generated so far. So as I bring this into view, what we're looking at is a basic framework of NinjaTrader, a NinjaScript, excuse me. At this point, all it's done is just generated the structure, and it's also named our strategy. So that's the View Code button. I would recommend using this. It'll allow you to learn about NinjaScript and it'll get you a little bit more into actual coding. So the View Code button is a very useful button. The next button is the Unlock Code button. This will allow you to modify the script. If I click View Code here, and it opens up the script in the NinjaScript editor, I'm not able to make any changes to the script. Right now I'm typing, but nothing's appearing, and that's because it's currently locked for editing. Only the Strategy Builder can add to the script. By clicking the Unlock Code button, this allows you to make manual changes to the script, but you can no longer use the Strategy Builder. If I click the button here, you'll see that there's a message that comes up. After unlocking, you can manually edit the wizard-generated code, but you cannot use the strategy, you cannot build the strategy in the strategy wizard. It's referring to the Strategy Builder. And then it asks you, do you want to proceed? So what it's just warning you here is that if you unlock the code, it's permanently unlocked. You're never going to be able to relock that. It allows you to modify the code manually, but you will no longer be able to use the wizard if it's unlocked. The compile button here, this allows your script to be ready for use. You can think of this like saving, but it has to do a little bit more than saving. After the script is saved, it has to be compiled into NinjaTrader, and then NinjaTrader will be able to use the script with all of the new changes. Anytime you make a change, you will need to compile the script. If you go to the next and then finish, it'll automatically compile and your script will be ready for use. I'm going to go ahead and click the next button. We're on the default properties page now. First option here is the calculate. So this is how often it's going to run the logic of your script. You can have it run and it'll check all of the conditions and run all of the actions. You can do this when the bar closes, on each tick, or when the price changes. Down here in more properties, I'm going to quickly go through these as quickly as I can. If you do have any questions about those, just throw them in the chat and I'll address those. So starting from the top, the entries per direction and entry handling. These two go together. So the entries per direction is going to control how many entries something can be made in a single direction. As an example, let's say that every time the close is greater than the open, you have a enter long, so it's going to place a buy order. If you have the entries per direction set to 1 and entry handling set to all entries, this will only allow you to place one order in the direction of buy. So when you're long 1, you'll no longer be able to place any more orders. It's going to ignore anything past that. So every time the condition is true, it's still only going to allow you to be one long in that direction. If you have signal names, and these are labels for your orders, you can change this to unique entries. Each one of those signals names gives it a unique entry. You can have one of those per unique entry. So let's say that you had a long entry 1 and a long entry 2. And let's say that your entries per direction is set to 3. In this situation, it's going to allow you to have 3 of the first order, long entry 1, and 3 of the second order, long entry 2. That would be a total of 6 orders. So it's just making them unique by the signal name. If you have it set to you all entries, that would just allow you, literally it would give you 2 of the first and then 1 of the second for a total of 3. It wouldn't allow you any more than 3 in that direction. The exit on close and the exit on close seconds, these are also linked together. Exit on session close is going to exit your position, cancel all working orders. The exit on close seconds is going to be how soon before the close of the session that you would like this to occur. You're only going to be able to send the exit order while the session is open. So we want to make sure that we get you out of that position before the close of the session so you're not in overnight. So this will just send the close 30 seconds before the end of the session. You could set it to something earlier if it's one of those exchanges where there's not a whole lot of volume. Below that is fill limit orders on touch. This is something that is only used for historical. And when I say historical, I'm talking about backtesting. Anytime you open a chart and you add a strategy, it's going to run through the historical data first, which is the equivalent of doing a backtest. In the backtest, if you have fill limit orders on touch, as the price touches the order, that order will fill in the historical data. If this is unchecked, it'll have to pass through that limit order before that order will fill. So that's what this does. This is only used for backtesting. which is also historical when you're first running a script. And this is going to fill the limit order when it is touched or fill the limit order when it is passed through. Down below that, we've got maximum bars look back. This is something that's actually only used for a secondary series. Very quickly, I'm going to jump ahead. We're going to go to the next page where it has additional data. This allows you to add a secondary series to your script. Maybe when you're on the ES, you want to be able to do some comparisons with the NQ. So you're comparing the S&P with the NASDAQ. Those kind of comparisons you can now do in NinjaTrader 8. Going back to the default properties page, this maximum bars look back is going to be how many bars of that secondary series do you want NinjaTrader to load. Now, this is only used for performance reasons. Most users, most programmers aren't going to call back in your script very far. Usually it's just 1 or 2 bars, maybe 10 bars, something along those lines. You're doing a little bit of a comparison of the past, but you're not going back really far in the past. So for efficiency reasons, we can have NinjaTrader only load the last 256 bars into memory. And by doing that, we do our calculations on the last 256 bars. It's a lot quicker than if you were to set it to infinite. When we have it set to infinite, it's going to include the entire data series. That way you're able to call back more than 256 bars ago. Maybe you want to call back 300 bars ago. If you need to do that, setting this to infinite just provides you that entire secondary series so you can do calls more than 256 bars ago. Below this, minimum bars required. A very common mistake is for someone to do a check for the current bar to be greater than the previous bar. And the problem with this is if you're on the very first bar of historical data, there will not be a bar ago. So you're calling the close of the previous bar, but on the first bar there is no previous bar. This is going to cause an error. The C# interpreter doesn't understand what you're asking for. You're calling a bar ago. There is no value there. It's going to cause an error, and it's going to stop your script. It's actually going to become disabled. You're going to see an error message appear in the log or the log tab, and the script's just going to become disabled. To try and fix this, and this is not really a fix, this is just a way to alleviate a very common problem. NinjaTrader has set the minimum bars required to 20. And what this means is that your script will not start processing until the 20th bar of historical data or real-time data. It won't start processing until the 20th bar. The reason this is important is you may see on your chart that orders won't start happening until 20 bars in. Or you may notice that indicators don't start plotting until 20 bars up. This is an attempt by NinjaTrader to prevent those common errors. If you're calling back 5 bars ago or 1 bar ago, you need to make sure there are 5 bars, or there is a bar ago. By not doing so, you're likely going to generate an error. Now, by setting this to 20, we can call back up to 20 bars ago, and there's not going to be any errors. But if you were to call back 21 bars ago, let's say you were saying the close of the bar 21 bars ago is greater than the bar of the current bar, that would generate an error on the first bar because, on the 20th bar, because on the 20th bar there will not be a bar 21 bars ago. So this is just an attempt to make sure that your script doesn't start running until there's enough data to be able to satisfy that. You can set this to any value you like. What's important is you never call a value more bars ago than what you have set here for the minimum bars required. And if you do so, ensure in your script that you are doing a check to make sure that there are enough bars on the chart that you can do that call without there being an error. All right, moving on. Order fill resolution. In NinjaTrader 7, if you were doing a backtest, the historical data only had the open, high, low, and close. What that means is that any intra-bar information, like all the ticks that happen during a minute bar, are not known. So when you do a backtest, it does a backtest very quickly, but it's only able to be accurate within a minute of data. You're using a minute bar type, only the open, high, low of that bar is known, so you only have like a minute of accuracy Anywhere in that minute, that order could be filled. By adding in order fill resolution from standard to high, the high allows you to add in a secondary series. And this will allow your script to process using a one tick series, so it can be accurate to one tick instead of being accurate to 1 minute bar. So this was known in NinjaTrader 7 as intra-bar granularity. In NinjaTrader 8, we're going to refer to this as the order fill resolution. I'm going to set that back to standard. Below this, the real-time error handling. This is what happens anytime your script hits an error. Let's say that you got an overfill, which means that a cancellation attempt occurred while an order was already filled. Your script can do one of a few things. A, it can ignore all of the errors and just continue on. B, it can stop the strategy, cancel all of the open orders, close all positions, just become disabled, you're no longer in a position. Or C, it can do that except that if you're getting a rejection, which means, let's say you placed an order at the wrong price and the broker didn't accept it because you've placed a stop order on the buy side of, below market, that's an order that doesn't belong there. You'll get a rejection from the brokerage. You can have your strategy continue working even though you just got an order rejection as the last option there. So you can choose what kind of behavior you want to have happen when you have an error. Our slippage here. Slippage is used to simulate slippage in historical data, backtesting only. In real time, when you're connected through the internet to a broker, there is a very, very small delay while your order travels through the internet from your computer to the broker's computer. And during that time, the price can change. If the price changes and your order is filled, it's going to fill at a different price than what you submitted it at because there's a little bit of time that took place before your order could fill. This is basically only true with market orders, but it can happen with other orders as well. So what the slippage here does is that if you're somewhere far away and you're encountering slippage during your real-time orders, you can simulate this slippage in your historical orders so you can get a more realistic look at your backtesting. By putting in one tick of slippage here, it'll randomly apply a tick of slippage to both your entries and your exits. So sometimes it'll have an extra tick and sometimes it won't. And it's very useful if you want to just have that kind of variation that would occur when trading a real-time strategy. Below this is the start behavior. As your strategy starts up, you can have it adopt the account position. Let's say that your strategy starts up and historically it's calculated it should be in a long position with a quantity of 2. But your strategy doesn't match your account. Your account is flat when you start up. By having this set to adopt account position, your strategy will calculate that it should be long 2, and then it'll just change the position to flat. In other words, it's going to just change the position of the strategy to whatever the account is, and that way they start up and they're synchronized. Below this is immediately submit, and this is unsynchronized. As it starts up, you're supposed to be long 2. The strategy just says, I'm long 2. If you have a working stop loss and profit target, it'll submit those as live orders because they are working orders, and it'll submit those to the broker to protect your theoretical long 2 position. Now, you would want to use this if your account was already long 2, or if you just don't care about your account and your strategy being in sync. Below this is the immediately submit synchronize account. So just like before, if your strategy historically says I've calculated I should be in a long 2 position, it'll again automatically put itself in a long 2 position. It'll be ready to trade. But this time, if your account is flat, it's going to send an order, a buy order, with a quantity of 2 to synchronize the account to have the position of the strategy. This is the exact opposite of the adopt account position. Below that is wait until flat. So instead of taking that long 2 position, it'll just say I have calculated that I have a historical position, and I'm not going to do anything at all until I have calculated that I'm out of that historical position. So the wait until flat, you'll see that your strategy starts yellow if it starts with a historical position, and it won't do anything until it gets out of that historical position, and that way it knows that it's ready to start trading live and it's not dealing with any historical stuff. The last option here, just like wait until flat, it's not going to do absolutely anything at all until it actually exits that historical position, is ready for the first live trade, except this time it'll synchronize the account. So maybe it waits until flat, but your account is long 5, right? And the first time it trades, it places an order for long 1. It'll send a sell for 4, and it'll make sure your account matches the strategy exactly. All right, stops and targets. You can have this be by strategy position or per entry. What this means is that your strategy, you've placed 2 orders to buy. You've got 2 orders there, one filled at 100, one filled at 105. Your profit target and stop loss for each of those orders could be in different positions. They've filled at different amounts. They could be on different prices. Well, you can either have one location for those, so you're doing it by strategy position, or you can have 2 locations for those by making them different for each one of those entries. Time and force. This is how long your order is going to be open for. So the day the order is going to cancel at the end of the session if it has not filled. GTC is good till canceled. This will be good until you cancel the order manually. This will stay active for a maximum of 60 days with most brokers. The IOC is immediate or cancel. The order must immediately fill or it is canceled. OPG, this is the on the open. So the order is submitted to fill on the opening price of the market or as close as possible to the opening price of the market. GTD, good till date. This will be open until the particular date that you've specified, and then it'll cancel on that particular date. Below this is trace orders. With trace orders, this is a great way to debug your script. If you have an order that's ignored, that'll show up in the trace orders. Anytime a submission happens, that'll show up in the trace orders. It's a good way of being able to see when orders are being submitted, if orders are being ignored, and to see when orders are being canceled. All that information will appear in the output window. All right, moving on to the next section. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and continue on. You know what? No, we're going to go ahead and continue on. So here in the additional data, this is where you can add a secondary series in. You can add a secondary series of a different instrument, of the same instrument with a different time frame. Below this area, in the custom series section, this is how you make an empty data series. Maybe you want to fill this with your own values. Maybe every time a bar closes, you want to do a calculation and you want to store that calculation to a data series. So instead of adding an existing instrument, you're making your own series that you can do and you can call at any time as well. So that's what this is used for. And you can make this a series. What this means is by series, there's going to be a value for every single bar on the chart. So you can store a value for every bar on the chart. Let's move on to the next. We're in inputs and variables. Inputs and variables are highly useful. This is to store something temporarily. Let's say that you want the user to be able to set the distance for your profit target or stop loss. You can have a variable hold that value until you need to use it later. This is similar to how it's used in math. So we have 2 types of variables here. We have inputs and we have regular variables. The inputs are public, and what that means is the user can set these. The user can set whatever value you have here to whatever value they want. The variables, these are just variables that are not public. In other words, you can set them as the programmer, but the user is not allowed to set them. And if you're storing something, like let's say you're storing a price, you don't want the user to be able to change that because you're using it for your calculations. So that's where you would use a variable. But for the length of an SMA, you would want the user to be able to change that, so you would use it as an input. Let's add some inputs. We're going to need those for our script. For our script, we're having a sample MA crossover. We called our simple MA crossover. When the fast moving average crosses the slow moving average, we're going to enter long. When the fast moving average crosses below the slow moving average, we're going to enter short. What we want to be able to have the user control is the number of bars that are included with the fast and slow moving averages. So that's the variables we're going to create is the period for those moving averages. We'll have a fast period. I'm going to have this, first of all, in the type, we've got bool, that's short for Boolean, that's a true or a false value. If I click on it, you can see we can default to true or false. A double is any value that has a decimal, so 1.1, negative 1.1. Those are doubles. String, that's any grouping of characters. I could say hello. I can put any characters in there except for quotation marks. So if I wanted to put an ampersand or an asterisk or an underscore or a space and a dash, any of those are fine. Any grouping of characters, this is going to be seen as is. It's not really used as a value. It's just meant to be displayed somewhere. So you could use it to name an order. You could use it to display a message on the screen when something happens. Maybe trigger an alert, and this will be the message for your alert. So that's what a string would be used for. Int is short for integer. That's any whole number that does not have a decimal. So -9, +9. Last is time. This is a date time object. It holds the time and the date, even though it shows just the time here. But I do believe this holds the time and the date. So for our script, what we're going to be adding are two whole numbers, a number of bars included with the fast and slow moving averages. So we'll have a fast period. I'm going to default this to 7. Click OK. I'm going to have a slow period. I'll default that to twice the length, 14. So the fewer bars, it's going to have a much quicker movement. The more bars, it's going to average out, and it's going to be a much slower movement. So we have a fast and a slow period. Now I also want the user to be able to set the distance for the profit target and stop loss. So I'm going to make two more variables here. One is going to be the profit target. We'll have this default to 20. I'm actually going to add a description for this too. This will be the number of ticks from entry the target is placed. And I'm going to highlight and copy that. It'll be really easy to paste it in just a moment. I'll add a new variable. This will be our stop loss variable. Again, integer whole number. I'll default this to 10. Right click and paste in the description and just change the word target to stop. In the fast and slow period, let me add a description in here too. This will be the number of bars for fast moving average. And I'm going to change the fast period, slow period. I'm just going to paste in the description there and change the word fast to slow. All right. Now we have some inputs, some controls for our user. All right. Now we have some inputs, some controls for our user. The user now has the ability to control the fast period, the slow period, profit target, and stop loss. Before I go too far, I just want to take a small break to ask a few questions and make sure everything is making sense. I also want to invite you to ask any questions that you would like. Add those to the chat, and I'll answer those while we're filling out the polls. So the question here, if I want my strategy to evaluate in real time, what should I set the calculate property to? So this would be on bar close, on each tick, or on price change. And again, this is an open webinar. I do invite your questions. Okay, stopping the poll. Answers here, red 2 on each tick, the orange 3 as well, on price change. So when I say real time, basically I want it to update when there's changes that are happening on the chart and I don't want to wait for a bar to close. Either on each tick or on price change would be okay. What is one reason an input might be used? To print the current position, to allow the user to set a value for a called indicator, to exit a trade with a market order, or to set the amount of ticks away from the entry that a stop loss will be placed. This one's also multiple choice, by the way. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the poll. So for these, the red 2, we're going to allow the user to set the period for our SMA calls. The blue 4 is also correct. We're going to be using a number of ticks for our stop loss and profit targets. So the red 2, allowing the user to set a value for a called indicator, and the blue 4, setting the amount of ticks away from the entry a stop will be placed. Great job, guys. Let's go ahead and continue on. I'm not seeing any questions, so it looks like everybody's following. All right. We're now in the conditions and actions section. This is where most of the logic is going to happen for your script. If all of the following conditions are met, it'll trigger the actions below. What that means is that we can add multiple conditions to the top area, and all of them have to be true before the action below is triggered. We can also switch this to if any. And I like to think of this as using ORs. So that way if the first row, the first condition is true, or the second condition is true, or the third condition is true, or the fourth condition is true, then it'll do the action below. In other words, if any of these conditions are met, it'll trigger that action. At the bottom here, we see we can add multiple sets. We can add as many as we like. Each one of these is going to be evaluated in order and independently. Set 1 will have the conditions checked, the actions triggered before, if we click plus to add set 2, this will be before the conditions are checked and the actions are triggered for set 2. So on and so forth for 3, 4, 5. Clicking the add over here on conditions, this opens up the condition builder. The way this works is something on the left is going to be compared with something on the right. Let's say that we wanted to know when our indicator is greater than another indicator. So we'd go into the indicator section, choose an indicator. I'm going to choose the MACD. So I've chosen the MACD indicator on the left. And on the right, I'm actually going to choose the MACD again. And here's why. Let's say we wanted to, the MACD, if you've ever put that on a chart, has 3 different plots. It's got a MACD plot, an average plot, and it's also got a diff plot. So if I wanted to know if the MACD average plot is greater than the MACD plot, I have the option to do so by selecting the plot that I want. So I could say the average plot is greater than the MACD plot. That's why I like selecting the MACD. It has multiple plots that we can select from, and it's a good way to demonstrate that. Let's go back up to the top, though. We have the ability to change the input series for this. So we could change this to the high, low, close, open. Or we could choose another indicator to be the input source for that. So we could have the ADL supply values to the MACD, and the MACD will do its calculations on the values that it got from the ADL. Below this is bars a go. So this is the MACD's value on the current bar. If we want to know the MACD's value on the previous bar, we'd put a 1 there. That would be from the MACD from the previous bar. Plot on chart, for visual purposes only, you can check the box here, and it'll just add the indicator to the chart anytime you start the strategy. That way you can see it on the chart without having to add it yourself. The parameters here, these are the inputs for the MACD. Just like we made our fast period, our slow period, and our profit target and stop loss, these are the inputs for the MACD, and they're the exact same thing that we did in our script. We can supply values to this. If we click set, we can even supply one of the values that the user set for our script and just pass it on forward to the indicator. Down here in the plots, we can change the color of any of the plots if we'd like to. Down in the properties section, we can add an offset. So let's say that the MACD produces a value of 105, and we're on the ES, which has a tick size of 0.25, and we use arithmetic, and we add 1. What that's going to do is produce a value of 106. It's just going to add 1 point to the 105. If we did 1.1, it would return 106.1. So that's basically it's in points. We could also go to a number of pips or ticks, and those are used basically interchangeably but specific to the type of instrument you're trading and whether or not it uses pips or ticks. And you can add a number of pips or a number of ticks to it. So on the ES, each tick is 0.25. If we put a 2 there, our 105 will become 105.5 because it's going to add 2 ticks to that. We can also do a percent, so if you want to add it by percent. I'm dropping down into the price section now. This one's self-explanatory. It just returns the price of the bar. You can get the ask volume, the bid volume, close, low, high, median, open, typical. The typical is going to be a average. So it's like the high plus the low plus the close. And that'll be your typical. The weighted is just like the typical, except that it adds in the close price twice. So it's weighted by the close price. Down in the strategy section, I'm going to open on both sides here. We can find out information specific to the strategy, like the average position price. This is your entry point. If you enter at 100, you enter at 110, so you've got 2 orders in, your average position price is 105. It's just the average entry of all of your entries. This is going to compare in the miscellaneous section to a numeric value. Current position size. This is the number of contracts you are in a position. If you're long 5, the current position size is 5. Current market position. This is your current position. You're either going to be flat, long, or short. On the right, in the strategy section, you would compare this with the market position, and you would choose long, flat, or short. Default order quantity. This is the quantity that the user has set. Maybe if the user said 100, maybe you want to break it into 2 different orders. So you have the option to see exactly what the user has set as the quantity. The realized P&L, this is for all closed trades, any trade that has an entry and an exit. The unrealized P&L, this is the profit and loss for all open trades. And this is any trade that has an entry but no exit. Both of these are going to evaluate as a numeric value. In the miscellaneous section, bars since entry. This will give you the number of bars since the last entry. If there has never been an entry, this will return a 0. If you entered and it's been 5 bars, it'll return a 5. This is going to evaluate as a numeric value. Bars since exit works the same. It'll tell you when the number of bars since the last exit. However, if there has never been an exit, it's going to return -1 instead of returning a 0. So if you want to know if there's never been an order, entry or exit, you can check that bar since entry is 0 and bar since exit is -1. Both of these will evaluate as a numeric value. Cross above and cross below. So these are going to evaluate as true or false. And over in miscellaneous, you've got true and you've got false. And what you'll do is you'll give it a series. Maybe we want to know when the ADL is crossing over the close price. We'll put in within 1 bar. So if the ADL is crossed over the close price within 1 bar, it's going to return true. If the ADL has not crossed over the close price, it's going to return false. The look back period is how many bars do you want to look for this cross to have happened in. If you want to see that it just happened, add a 1. If you want to see it's happened within the last 5 bars, add a 5. Cross below works the same way. The way these work is if the value of series 1 is less than the value of series 2 on the previous bar, and then on the current bar, if it's now greater than, that's a cross above, or the reverse, if you start out with series 1 greater than series 2, and then on the current bar series 1 is now less than series 2, that's a cross below. Current bar is just going to tell you the bar number you're on. You know, if 5 bars have gone by, you're on current bar 5. The state, over on the right, if we go back into the strategy section, hang on one second. Excuse me, in the miscellaneous section, our state is going to be historical, transition, or real-time. So this is when it's doing its back test before it starts real-time. Transition lets you know that it has finished and it's moving into real-time, and real-time lets you know it's now processing real-time data. Falling. So give it a series, it'll tell you if the current value is less than the previous value. That'll evaluate as a true or false. Highest bar. This is going to return a bars ago value for the highest bar in a series. Let's say you're looking for the highest high in the last 10 bars. So in the series here, you'll select highs. This is going to return a bars ago value though. So if you want to know if the current bar is the highest high, then you would use a numeric value of 0, because 0 bars ago is the current bar. You know the current bar is the highest high. But if you want to know if the previous bar is the highest high, you'd put a 1 here. So 1 bar ago would be the highest high. But you could find the highest low, the highest ADL value, any series you'd like to give it. Lowest bar is looking for the lowest value in the series. Rising is like falling. It'll tell you for that series if the current value is greater than the previous value. First bar of session will be true. This is going to be a true or false value. It'll be true in the first bar of the session. A lot of users will reset things right then. Slope is a calculator, so you can give it a series like an indicator. Give it a number of bars. So the start bar would be 10 bars ago. The end bar would be 0 bars ago. That would be 10 bars. Or you could measure between 5 bars ago and 10 bars ago, so it'd be 5 bars. Give it a series, so you could check an indicator or the close price or the highs. By giving it those 2 points, it can tell you what the slope is, rise over run, for those 2 points. That's going to evaluate as a numeric value. Moving down to the time section. The time section is great. You can do things like filters. Maybe you want to trade only between 9 and 5. You know, and if it's not between 9 and 5, you don't want it to do any trading. Well, you can do that using a time filter. Well, starting from the top here, we have our date series. This is the date of the current bar, or if you use a bars ago value, the date of the previous bar, or 10 bars ago, whatever value you put there. The date value is a hard-coded value, so this is going to be what you're comparing to. So if you want to know the date series is greater than, and then on the right, I would choose time and date value. So if the date is greater than, we'll give it yesterday's date, then it'll trigger that action. Time series will give you the time of the bar. So this will say if the time of the bar is greater than, and when on the right we'll choose a time value, and it'll be greater than that time value. Day of week, so you're going to compare the date series with the day of week. So you'd say if the date series equals day of week Sunday, then that would give you a trigger any time it was Sunday or Monday or whatever day you chose. But let's go back to that time filter. Let's say 9 and 5. On the left, we would choose time series. We would choose greater than time value, put in 9 o'clock a.m. Click OK. That gives us the first half of that time value, time condition. Click Add to add a second part. Go to Time Series. This time it will be less than time, and then we'll do time value. And I'll put in 5 o'clock p.m. Click OK. We now have a time filter. If the time is after 9 o'clock a.m. and the time is before 5 o'clock a.m., then trigger our action. All right, I'm going to go ahead and remove those. The last section here is just user input, and the user is able to, you're able to see what the user put here. You know, you want to know what they typed in for fast input period or something. You can say if fast period is greater than 5, then take this particular action. All right, let's go ahead and build our conditions here. Again, what we want to have is when the SMA with the fast period is crossing above the SMA with the slow period. So let's add that condition in. Click Add here. We want indicator. On the left, we'll select SMA. For the period, we're going to set this to our user input and select our fast period. For the color, I'm going to use a red color to represent something fast. We're going to say when this crosses above within 1 bar, and we're going to select the SMA on the right, and this time we're going to select the slow period instead of the fast period. And since it's slow, I'm going to change this to a blue color. We'll do royal blue. And that way, I'm changing the colors here. Actually, let me click Edit on that again. And that way, so if I check Plot on Chart, I can actually see those on the chart, and I can see which ones they are. So that's going to be for our set 1. For set 2, which I am going to add a set 2, I'm going to right-click and copy this. Go to set 2, right-click and paste. The reason why, we're still going to use the SMA and the SMA fast and SMA slow, but we're going to change cross above to cross below. So I'm going to click Edit on this. Here in the center, just change cross above to cross below. Click OK. We now have the opposite condition. So that was the fast way to get that opposite condition. Let's talk about our actions. So here in the Do the Following, this is our action section. I'm going to click Add. We can draw on the chart. So you can see you give it a bars to go value, a start price, in price. So you can draw a dot, ellipses, lines. I need to get a drink. All right, sorry about the delay on that. I was getting a little bit dry. Okay, continuing on. So here you can do things like you can set the text color. So you can draw text on the chart, excuse me. You can draw any of the objects that you can draw manually on the chart as well. You can set the bar colors, what I meant to say. You can set the color behind the bar on the actual chart. You can set the candle outline color of the bar. Down here in the miscellaneous section, you can trigger alerts. Those will go to the alerts window. One thing I like to point out here is the rearm seconds. When the rearm seconds is set to 0, this will not rearm. When this is set to 1 or above, it'll rearm after 1 second, or you can set it to 60 and it'll rearm after 1 minute. But I just like to point out that by setting this to 0, it'll trigger once, it'll never trigger again. So the rearm seconds, that'll rearm that after a given amount of time. Any logs will go to the log tab of the control center. If you have important information, you can put that there. It'll stay there permanently. If you're wanting to do debugging, I would recommend using the print. This will go to the output window. It doesn't permanently show in the log. It just gives you information about your script as it's running to help you make decisions. Play sound. The alerts can play a sound, but if you don't want to set up an entire alert, you just want it to trigger a sound, you can select play sound here in the file name, choose the sound, and it'll play that sound anytime your alert, your condition is true. Under send mail, You do have to have a share service configured for this to work. But if you do have a share service configured, you can use this to send a message to an email. A lot of users will use this to send a text message to their cell phone. So if you have your SMS to email address, as an example, let's say that I have a number with Verizon. With Verizon, my 10-digit number, I'm going to put in a fake number here, 555-555-5555. 10 digits at vtext.com is the Verizon text message address. But there's also all text and Sprint. By putting in your number with the correct SMS address, you can have NinjaTrader send an email to your cell phone every time you have this particular condition true. So anytime an order goes in, if you want an alert when an order goes in, this would be a way to do that. Under the share here, there are more share services than just email. You can post to a Twitter account. You can post to a Facebook account. The share services here, if you have one configured, you can share to that particular share service automatically anytime your condition is true. Order management. This is where you're actually going to be placing orders. So you can trigger a long position. This is a buy market order. This is a buy limit order. This is a buy buy market if touched order, a buy stop limit order, and a buy stop market order. When you're entering a short position, you're going to do that with a sell. This is a sell market, sell limit, sell market if touched, sell stop limit, and sell stop market. When you're exiting a position, you're going to do the opposite. So exiting long, you're going to sell that long position. So this is a sell market, sell limit, sell market if touched, sell stop limit, sell stop market. When you're exiting a short, you buy that position back. This is a buy market, buy limit, buy market if touched, buy stop limit, and buy stop market. For our script, right now we're in set 1. When the cross above occurs, we want to enter into a long position. So I've selected enter long. You'll see here there's a signal name. The signal name identifies this order and makes it unique. What this means is that if you use the from entry signal and you supply the signal name of an order, you can tie an exit to a specific entry. Let's see how that looks. So this would be my long entry 1. Maybe I have a second order, and that one's called long entry 2. Over in set 2, I have an exit long position. And in the from entry signal, I've typed long entry 1. Here's what's going to happen. Long entry 1 is going to be exited, but the long entry 2 is not going to be exited. So by using signal names and from entry signals, I've tied the entry to an exit. So just to review, if the from entry signal of the exit order matches the signal name of the entry order, those two orders are tied together. Now I don't actually need an exit there, I just wanted to demonstrate that. For our script, we're going to keep it real simple. We're just going to say enter long, enter short. So we've got our enter long on set 1, enter short on set 2. And that's basically it for our crossover. It's not what I wanted to do. Hang on one second. I think I've added in too many here. So I'm doing this again. Select the cross above, go to set 2. We'll paste this in. We'll edit, change this to cross below. And instead of entering long like we do in set 1, in set 2 we're going to add enter short. Alright. So set 1, cross above, enter long. Set 2, cross below, enter short. Let's go to the last page, our stop losses and profit targets. So that's automatically going to be reversing our position back and forth as our crosses happen. But let's say the market takes off in a particular direction. We want to make sure that our order is protected so we don't have too much loss. I'll click the add here. We can add in a profit target. Again, we have the option for a from entry signal if you've named your entry with a signal name. I'm not going to use that. By not using that, it's going to apply to all orders. In the mode, we have currency. This is an amount of profit and loss. We have percent. This is from the entry point. We have price. This is an exact price. If you type in 1,000, it'll actually place the order at 1,000 on the chart or on the Superdome. Then there's ticks. This is a number of ticks from the entry point. And pips, kind of used interchangeably with ticks. This is the number of pips from the entry point if you're using an instrument that uses pips. The profit target total position cash, this is basically like using currency, but instead of being attached to that order, it's now attached to the entire position. So if you've got 5 orders making up that position, this will be a stop loss and profit target that apply to that entire position instead of each individual order. With stop loss, it works the same as profit target, but I just want to mention the simulated stop here will prevent your order from being submitted until it's touched. A lot of users will just use that to hide the order from the market. The last option here is trailing stop. With trailing stop, this is going to tick by tick follow the current price. Let's say that you enter in at 100 and you've got your trailing stop initially set here to 5 ticks. Every time it ticks up, it's going to move the stop loss up 1. That way it always stays a maximum of 5 ticks away. All right, let's add in a profit target. We'll change ours to ticks. Value, we're going to set this to the user input, and we're going to select the profit target variable. And I've clicked add to add a new, we're going to add the stop loss in. Again, setting this to ticks and setting the value to the user input of the stop loss. All right, let's ask a few questions, and then the last thing we'll do here is we'll just run the strategies so we can see how to run them, and we'll be done for the day. My next question that I have what is needed to have an exit order exit a specific entry order? 1, use the indicator as the price for the exit order. 2, use the exit's signal name must match the entry's signal name. 3, the entry's signal name must match the exit order's from entry signal. 4, the exit order must be in the same condition set as the entry order. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the poll. The answer here is the orange 3. So your entry will have a signal name. Your exit will use the from entry signal of that entry's signal name. So that's where the from comes from. You're saying which one of these do I want to be attached to? What tool would I use to trigger an order once at 9:05 a.m. on a 5-minute chart? 1, in the time section, select time series and compare this with the time section on the right with time value. 2, in the miscellaneous section, select session break and compare this with on the right, the miscellaneous section true. Or 3, in the indicators section, select the current day open, high, low indicator and compare this on the right with the miscellaneous section true. Or 4, only run the script in the morning. The answer here is going to be the green 1. In the time section, select time series. On the right, select the time value, and you can do a comparison of those. If you select 9:05 on the right, it'll only trigger at 9:05. Okay. The last thing we're going to do here is finish up. So I'm going to click Next and Finish. Clicking Finish does the same thing as clicking Compile here, which simply gets my script ready for use. Now I can actually add this to a chart or to the Strategies tab of the Control Center. We're going to do both. So I'm going to add a new chart first of all. We'll go to New Chart. I'll select the ES. And I'll right-click on it and select Strategies. This gives us a list of strategies. This one's our new one, the Simple MA Crossover. Here I'm going to click Add. I'm adding a new instance. You can actually add multiple strategies to your chart. On the right, we've got our fast period, slow period, profit target, stop loss. We've also got all of our default settings here. We can change any of these. What we do need to do is set enable to true. So the script won't be enabled until you enable it. So I'll check the box for enabled, click OK. This message is letting me know I have order confirmations on, but this strategy is going to be submitting orders without confirmations. So it's just giving me a heads up. Click OK on that. We now have our historical performance appearing on the chart. So our backtest is now what we're seeing on the chart. We can see our fast moving average in red and our slow moving average here in blue. Let's remove this from the chart. So it's now removed from the chart. You may have noticed that it did create a row for this in the Strategies tab of the Control Center. So every time you add a strategy to the chart, it'll automatically appear on the Strategies tab of the Control Center. But it doesn't work the other way around. So I'm adding the strategy now directly to the Control Center. So I've right-clicked and selected New Strategy. I'll select my Simple MA Crossover. Click OK. I can check the box to enable this over here on the right. But when I enable it, it is running right now, but it doesn't appear on the chart. So when you add a strategy directly to the Strategies tab of the Control Center, it doesn't appear on any chart. It doesn't attach to a chart. So it's only running on the Strategies tab of the Control Center right now. So even though plot on chart is set to true for those indicators, if the strategy is not on the chart, nothing from the strategy will show on the chart. Okay, well, I've gotten to the end of my webinar today. I have one last question for you. If an indicator in a condition has plot on chart set to true, and the strategy is added directly to the Strategies tab of the Control Center, will any indicators appear on any open charts? I'm going to stop the poll. The answer is no. Again, if you're adding a strategy directly to the Strategies tab of the Control Center, as we've done here, no indicators will appear on the chart. No orders will appear on the chart either. The strategy is not associated with the chart unless you right-click the chart, select Strategies, and actually add the strategy directly to the chart. Well, thanks for staying with me today, guys. Before we go, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for joining me. Second of all, next week we're going to be diving into the manipulation of C# code directly from inside the NinjaScript editor. So next week at the same time, that'll be 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we're going to be doing the NinjaScript Editor 401 course. Happy trading from everyone here at NinjaTrader, and I want to say good luck.